G'day everyone, it's Friday, so it's time for another episode of Tech Talk. This week's topic is polished concrete don't do's. So got a bit of a list here in front of me, so I thought I might lead into each question and we can have a quick discussion about each one and sort of move on to the next. So first one on the list is tape to concrete. So rolls of tape on concrete. Guys, what are your thoughts around that? These are all sort of topics that have come up over the last probably sort of couple of weeks, week or two.
The only tape that I approve for concrete is VHS. That is the only tape I approve for concrete. It's outside of that, do not ever stick sticky tape to concrete. Even 14-day tape. All tape has chemicals in it which allows it to stick, and depending on, this varies. You stick it to concrete, it's going to have a chemical reaction. It's going to change the way it presents. But if you stick it to concrete that's inside of 6 months old and then you leave it down for a few months as well, forget it. That line is there forever. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
What are your thoughts, Ted?
I think Josh made it. Look, there's solvents in the adhesive, and that's, when it comes to finished floors, that's where part of the issue is. But of course, the other one is, like Josh just identified, it's hydration lines. If you've got concrete that's still curing and you've got a tape there that is really not allowing the moisture to move through, like whatever other breathable surface might be there, you just get a difference in colour. So it's not just about adhesive and so forth, it also has to do with moisture permeability and vapour migration.
That's right. You can breathe through a pillow.
On to the next one.
Not very well.
On to the next one. Just to show we're not anti-tape, what about densifier on glass?
See, that's a good one. That's a good one. Maybe if we swap those around, Mike. Densifier on floor, tape on glass.
Sounds good to me.
Tim, you're the chemist. Why don't you put densifier on glass? Is it just because the Windex guys, the professionals in that industry, don't try and take them over?
Well, it's a bit like whenever you have an oil spill on asphalt, what do?
Put down sawdust and sand and
why do you do that?
To help draw it back up out of that.
So no one knows what you did.
Why don't we just leave the oil sitting on the asphalt?
It's slippery. It's going to soak embed into the ground.
It does, and it actually breaks down the asphalt because they're both petrochemical products. And the same thing is with the densifier and glass. They're both using essentially the raw material. So the same origin, both come from sand and silica. So you get densifier on glass, it's going to etch it and it's going to start reacting, and you lose that polished surface on the glass.
Here I was thinking they only did it so they thought people wouldn't find out they drove a Jeep.
And I have heard a little secret along the way that maybe the headlight rejuvenation kits that you can get at some auto stores may get you out of trouble there. Something that you can try. Yeah, certainly steer clear of that one. On to the next. A reminder, we are talking about don't do's, and the next heading I'm looking at is buy jobs. What do we mean by that?
Well, essentially the term buying jobs is pretty much just going in really low in order to keep your guys running. This is never a good thing to do. Every day that you're selling your brand, and buying a job is devaluing what you're providing. Okay? When you go low, that's pretty much your new status quo. Don't buy jobs. If you're looking to keep guys running, and I know that some of you have experienced this over the last 5-6 months because we keep hearing about it, find other ways to wrap additional value into the project, not necessarily generating more income out of the project, but at least if the invoice reflected that the price was still high per square metre, but you're actually providing something for free, your per square metre rate is still the same. This is, of course, only one thing that you could possibly do, but creating value in the project, but never, ever sacrificing your brand. Every project that you sell, desperate or not, that's your brand that you're protecting. Never, ever buy jobs. It affects you, and it affects the guy next to you as well, who's also going out the door every day for the same reason, to put food on the table for his family. Buying jobs hurts everybody.
Speaking of the guy next to you, thoughts on that one, Tim?
Oh, look, I'm also thinking about the cash flow implications of those sorts of things. You go and do work where you're basically doing no money. Then the next job comes along where you may have a higher material cost and so forth, and it just all starts compounding. And your cash flow, when you actually comes around to that time of the month, we actually have to start paying for things. If you're not making any money, but you continue to rack up costs, then you start copping it. You're just pushing it further down the track. So just need to have some understanding as to how that, from a business point of view, also impacts your cash flow.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, Josh, affecting the industry, I never get a phone call to say, hey, guess how low I got that job for? I get the phone calls of saying, I didn't get that job because someone went X amount of dollars low. So certainly the feedback we get there. Good one, setting your team up to fail.
Don't set your team up to fail. So look, hear this one quite often that, okay, so you've concrete grinding and polishing, running a contracting business, it's a constantly evolving thing. If you've got guys who are, if we had to say that there were 4 levels in your business of capacity and skill, and at the moment you've got most of your crew is sitting around the 1 and 2 level, don't sell the 3 and 4 level stuff everywhere, because your team is going to be set up for failure. You're not going to grow these guys from where they're at by stretching them to the highest level on a project. That's how you're going to demotivate them. That's how you're going to lose customers. That's how you set up the team to fail. Only sell or put guys onto projects that they are capable of doing and doing well. Remember, that is your brand. Every time. If the only thing that you can do is vacuum a floor, that's all the skill set you've got, go and sell floor vacuuming at its very best and be good at that, and then move on to the other things and grow. Don't sell the metallic epoxy coatings on 5,000 square meters if the guy's still only good at vacuuming. So don't set your team up to fail. Don't set your brand up to fail.
I'm also thinking of something else more on a practical level too. We know that this application needs lots of different types of tools. There's so much variability in floors, there's so much variability in concrete, there's so much variability in the applications. Don't send them out with one set of diamonds because you don't trust them with any more than that, because they're going to go out and they're either going to be absolutely unproductive, and therefore they're going to be spinning the wheels waiting for you to bring up the next set when they find out they've got the wrong set. Or they're going to have the wrong set that actually disappears in half an hour, and then there's no productivity again. So having the right equipment to do the job is also a really important thing for enabling them to have their success.
Again, I always talk about I never seem to get the phone calls of people saying, hey, we did this job, it was fantastic, we were in and out, it's what we do, it's in our wheelhouse, it was perfect. I never get those phone calls. I always get the phone calls of, hey, can you just remind me, what do I do with the... You're like, okay, so maybe this isn't something that you do very regularly. So walk any floor treatment onto surrounding surfaces.
Mike, is this possibly related to the last one?
Walking it through from one area to another.
All that stuff that you put on the floor, your grouts, your densifiers, your sealers, if it's not supposed to be anywhere else, put a mat down or something. So you're cleaning it off your shoes before proceeding onto something else. I see it often on tiles surrounding the areas, timber. Someone's just done their grout, they've walked onto another surrounding surface. Even they've walked outside and they didn't notice it, there's grout on their feet. And then later on when it rains, you can see it. Work clean. Try not to ruin anything else around you. Maybe put carpet on all the glass. But
be prepared to have some sort of landing area. I mean, you sort of seal yourself out of a room, or you densify yourself out of a room, and it's like, all right, where am I going to stand now? On a different surface, because that's not the one I'm working on. The one I've just worked on is covered in densifiers. I'm going to stand on the adjoining surface, which is, like Josh said, the ceramics or the timber or something. And
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, the mats for my car are always in danger of ending up on site.
And look, I do obviously visit a lot of sites, and you do. As you said, it's a good term, Josh, and that is, a bit of a landing area. Absolutely, just that bit of a transition area to get you from one space to another. Always good. On to the next one. Don't do's. Use honeycombs, in brackets, Josh's pet hate tool.
Yeah, what does Jackson have against honeycombs, Josh? Jackson is Josh's Staffy Bull Terrier, just for those that are interested. Josh's pet. Why does Jackson have so much against honeycombs for it to be his pet, your pet hate tool?
Well, you know what they say. Your pet is like is like its owner, and therefore my dog doesn't like honeycomb resins either.
So it's one of the most popular tools I sell, Josh. Why is it a pet hate of yours?
I get dragged into where all the jobs go wrong, okay? Not where the jobs go right. So quite often I'm getting pulled into, hey, my guy's done this. What did he do wrong? It's never the guy who did it, right? And almost always the honeycomb is involved. How is it involved? Just being used at the incorrect time. So this is really just understanding what tool to use in what situation. The honeycomb is a great tool. But you really need to know when and when not to use it, because a honeycomb in particular on a soft concrete or very abrasive concrete cuts very fast, is very aggressive, but takes a lot of work to keep on top of the damage that it can do. So they tend to be a bit of a pet hate for me because I get called quite frequently on them or quite frequently on a floor that has damage, and I know exactly how it got there.
It reminds me of a saying, what's more dangerous than someone with a lot of information? It's someone with a little bit of information. And essentially, what Josh is saying, it's dangerous having the right tool in the wrong hands.
Yeah, I guess when I'm talking to a bit of someone who might be a little bit newer to the industry and going through the range of the resins, it's certainly when we come across the honeycomb, very popular, but certainly one of the more aggressive in the hand tool range.
Mike, I can see a few more on the list. Should we just pick a last one?
Seal floors with densifier instead of sealer. So don't do's. Seal floors with densifier instead of sealer. Well, I had nothing to do with that one. I can see Josh is chomping at the bit to get into this one.
Look, it's on the list because it happened. Yeah, it happened. That's why it's on the list, guys. Yeah, don't seal a floor with densifier. So if you think that you're about to seal a floor with some Defend, that's what's in your sprayer. You've just taken the floor up to 1,500 or 3,000 grit. Probably worth checking the contents before spraying it out, because this guy didn't, and he sprayed densifier all over the floor. And guess where he's back at? He's back at Monday, and it's Friday. All right.
So that sort of falls into the whole measure twice, cut once type scenario, just checking things a little bit before you push through.
Yeah, absolutely. Little just, and I get it. When you're at the end of the job, that's when you're sealing, that's when you've got the least amount of energy, that's when you make mistakes, because this is the end of the project. But not for this guy. He's going to have all the energy again to start and do a really good job. So,
we've got a lot of guys that like putting a lot of love into their floors, but that's just taking it to a whole new level.
I usually tell the newer people in the industry, no densifying after 200 grit. Yeah, absolutely. That's sort of going next level. But I think that'll about do it. So we're a few more on the list there, but it just goes to show you, look, I couldn't quite say over the last week, but certainly over the last couple of weeks, some of the type calls we've been getting. So we do take some very interesting calls. I hope a few of these Q&As have sort of helped a few people, and if you've been in that situation, or to stop you from getting in said situation. But obviously, as always, any comments below, or pick up the phone and give us a ring. Always happy to hear from people. So it's very good, guys. Good one. Like it. Cheers, gents. Have a lovely weekend. I might go and seal my floor tongue with a nice beer.
Well, Mike, you mentioned it before. Measure twice, cut once. I think I'm going to have a beer. Lots of them.
Cheers, guys.
Adios. Have a great weekend.